The Holdovers is directed by Alexander Payne and stars Paul Giamatti and Dominic Sassa. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name right there. A cranky history teacher at a prep school is forced to remain on campus over the holidays with a grieving cook and a troubled student who has no place to go. Now, I watched this film last night and just before the Oscars because I wanted to hear what everyone was talking about this film. I didn't hear much about it at my end when it first came out, and I never had the time to go out and watch it, and it just never really landed on my radar. And so now, having a little bit of time watching films before the Oscars, I was like, might as well give this one a chance because I hear a lot of good things about it. So sat down, watched it on Peacock, and I thought that this was a really warm-hearted, entertaining film that really had me emotionally engaged from beginning to end. Paul Giamatti as this character is fantastic. He's able to take a character like Paul Hunham, who has a lot of trust issues and thinks a little bit more about himself, and is able to bring out so much humanity out of that character. He's able to have us understand his plight at times, be able to understand his emotions. We learn a lot about him, and his performance makes it all feel real. And his relationship to this student that we follow throughout the film is something that I felt like was explored tremendously well and helped develop his character in a very engaging way that had me emotionally engaged with the entire story. And Dominic Sessa here as Angus Tully is also another standout. I really like what they did with his character because you're introduced to him and you think that he is the better of some of these kids, but then we later on explore that he is a bit of a troublemaker and someone who's not popular around and builds a wall with himself and exiting everyone else around him that's not his family. He's basically a very troubled kid, and yet he is able to also find a whole lot of humanity with this character to have us understand him. And so when Paul Giamatti and Dominic Sessa are on screen together and they're both trying to figure out life, where they are, and trying to connect with one another throughout this time that they did not ask to be in, I think it made quite a bit of interesting conflict and great character development, especially with this cook that they also find themselves with, played by Divine Joy Randolph, who is definitely a Best Actress nominee for sure. She is extremely good here. She is someone in this film who's going through a lot of trauma herself, who is probably the most damaged out of everyone here, as she is going through so much loss in her life, and you really do understand her. And she's able to bring out the humanity in both of these characters that really do help them come to terms with who they are. And I really think that she is the glue that basically holds this entire movie together. I feel like without her, this movie wouldn't have been as heartwarming or as loving as it is. Despite a cold exterior, there is a solid heart in the middle that's beating throughout. I also love the aesthetic of the film. It is definitely harkening back to those old 70s movies that have that kind of grainy, old-time look with the type of film cameras that they used. And I really do think it felt authentic. In fact, I thought at many points I was watching a movie from the 70s. It looked that good. And it's also helped with some great production design, great costume design as well. And the way the characters act with one another all felt natural. This felt like a very believable 70s era, which I then had to compliment the director for being able to accomplish, because not only was he able to bring out the best performances of all these actors' career, I really do think this is Paul Giamatti's best performance here. He's also able to bring a level of authenticity to the film that I really do admire, and I really do love this film. I think this is fantastic. I thought the story was engaging throughout. I think the music is also really good, even though this score is not as loud or as prevalent as many other films in the Best Picture category. I think the score still was able to help us get emotional whenever it needs to be there, and it creates a sense of atmosphere that is just all prevalent throughout the Christmas spirit. This music choice is great. I especially love a certain music choice in the middle when the characters are running around the hallways. I love that whole bit. It's probably one of my favorite sequences in the film. Just overall, I think this is a really fun movie. I will say that my only problem is that at some points the story can drag a tiny bit. Maybe I would have loved some scenes to be cut down just a tiny bit more maybe. But that's just a small nitpick that I have in an otherwise pretty perfect Christmas film that's not for the whole family. But if you're an adult and you want to get into the Christmas spirit for a little bit, maybe you're feeling out of it, definitely pop this one out. It's going to get you in the mood for the Christmas festivities, and I really did wish I could have watched this in theaters back on the holidays. I'm going to give the Holdovers an A. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys next time.